Thank you for subscribing to Sheila Lives Out Loud. We're sharing some of our best lessons from the show as we count down to a new season. Here's my Motivate.
Live Out Loud with Emmanuel Gitau next.
Emmanuel Gitau. I'm from Kiambu County, 33 years of age, and have been suffering from renal failure for the last 14 years. Done 14 major operations, done 3 transplants, all failing, and I'm still optimistic, and I thank God for my life.
But it wasn't always like this for you.
True.
You were living a healthy life, you had big plans, big goals, big dreams. When did things change? Take us back to that beginning.
Can imagine, all my youth have been with this condition, hospitalized every time. And I started my dialysis. They told me that it's the only way out. And eventually, they told us transplantation, is the best option. And our family, they took it positively and they decided to help. And truly, my dad was the first donor. After getting assistance from friends and family, because of the ticket and the
it was not done in
fee.
Kenya.
Where was it was in
done?
India. So I did the first transplant, and it was hectic because within hours the kidney failed. I got high-grade fever, but eventually the kidney just failed. They tried to resuscitate it to an extent that the veins inside burst, and they had to remove it, nephrectomy, immediately because of the...
It was bad.
It just rejected. It was even rotting inside my body and also swelling. So my brother was the second donor, and he came from Kenya to India. And the same thing happened, again fever, but at least it worked after resuscitation, but only to last for 7 months, something I didn't know, but later came to know that the doctors knew it wouldn't work for long. But I was happy, at least at that time I was urinating, because you can imagine 14 years without urinating. I never passed any urine. That's why I tell people.
In 14 years?
Yes, 14 years. I've been, paying to urinate. Something, to it's a done deal. You go to the ladies and that's it.
So dialysis is how you get rid of that waste material from your body, because physically it doesn't happen for you.
It doesn't happen for me. So that's why I tell people, there's nothing kawaida. There's nothing, happens.
Just
God
like
knows.
that.
Yeah, God knows everything.
Every piece of your body is working for something. So don't take it for granted.
At all. I tell people that.
Okay.
So it happened, and at least after many resuscitations, because I went to India alone, trying to, the same kidney had issues, but eventually it failed again. So they gave us a third option, and my sister gave me the kidney. And it worked so well for a month. But I started swelling again. I started getting, some funny conditions. And that's why they told me I have to go back to India to check what was happening. They tried to resuscitate the kidney, it failed again. And at that time I was totally worn out, to an extent that the doctors were telling me I have 3 months to live. And now it's 9 years down the line from 2007. And I still thank God, because at least I'm alive.
Yes, you are. And ultimately, the only one who decides whether we're still living and breathing is God.
Yeah.
The doctors can tell us what they think, but
True.
ultimate authority is the one who gives the life in the first place.
That's what I told the doctors. It's God who knows my fate, and true, He knows my fate. I usually say everything is a lesson, and this is a great one, because you can imagine the many sufferings, and pain, a lot of pain, because you can imagine the operations, the 14 operations. And it brought me closer to God. It was like a retreat. I was tall. I wasn't like this. The deformity came much later. I was big. I didn't have this painful hunchback. My bones, they were even, they were telling me they were so fragile to an extent that it can break at any time. So And there's a time I was even using crutches, telling me I'll use a wheelchair if at all they don't remove the parathyroids, which at that time they were very hyper, and in 2013. So I had to go for another operation 2013, now the final one, whereby they removed the parathyroids because they were very hyper, deforming
Yeah.
my body.
Yeah.
So at least according to them, they're saying that the deformity is lessening, but it's not over. But at least the pain, it's manageable
You're not
now.
in
It's
that kind
better.
of pain.
Yeah, it's better because I was not able to sleep for long hours. At least now I can, despite having issues still. I could not even sit for long hours. At least I can a little bit, and also walk for long distances. At least now I can make strides,
You
right?
can do a lot more now.
But at least I'm also happy. I'm not using crutches, but the pain is still there.
Right.
But what to say? Because I don't know up to where I'll deform. I don't know. Now I'm like this. They're saying it's still gradually going on. But just leave it to God. And there's something I came to understand, that when you accept everything and say that it's God's will, everything is under God's will. And despite, even if you get an accident or anything, just take it positively at first, because positive thinking will lead you to godliness. When you take things negatively, always it will lead you to the evil one, and he will stir you to negativity always. But when you take it positively, despite having this condition, people say that ni uchawi or something, it's witchcraft, which is not the case.
And that's what happens when we see things happen and we can't explain it.
Yeah, very
So
true.
we resort to default settings, ni uchawi.
Yeah, because people they tend to not to to persevere from what is happening, and by not accepting God really, because in the same book of Job it says that Satan usually asks for permission for anything that happens to us, any temptation that comes, and it's either he's allowed or not. And that's why you are told to pray much to avoid temptation. But when it comes, how do you take it? When you take it positively, you'll get the grace to persevere despite the magnitude, right? And also God gives you friends who will be there for you, and the family initially. And that's why I'm telling you, when you take it negatively, you live and die soon.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it will harass you mentally. Socially, you'll see that you are hated. You'll even tend to see that God has forsaken you, which is not true, obviously. And eventually going to funny people trying to
Seek
get to
solutions.
seek solution, which at the end of the day will still go back to God, who will obviously help you. So the best thing is just take everything positive.
Okay.
Yes.
In talking about taking everything positive, you wrote a book.
Yes.
And here it is. It's called Emmanuel, Life Without Kidneys.
Yes.
Why did you write this book? I mean, it's difficult enough living through this
Yeah,
challenge,
true.
but now to go through it and write about it and be honest about your every experience in this book.
Yeah.
Why was it so important for you to do this?
Well, I've always prayed to God that people may know about these, illnesses, because people are so ignorant. And a friend of mine, I met a friend, the author of the book, by the name Dr. Stephen Kimotho. We were just tenants at Ruiru. He used to see me going for dialysis wee hours in the morning at 3 a.m. because of, queues in Kenyatta. So he was like bothered and asking, hey, why at this time? So one day he asked me, and I had to tell him about my condition. And he said he'll not just ask, he'll take another step and take me for dialysis, which he did for for a month or so. And that time it touched him so much, to an extent that he said that being an author, I'll write a book to let people know about this issue, and in a way to support me with my
Finding funding
exactly
for paying for the
for the
treatment.
funding. So to him, instead of begging and the many harambees, yeah, so he thought of writing the book, and it was like a dream come true. The future is bright for me, I know that. I'm a caterer, and I tend to make snacks. I make some crisps and peanuts, even despite not able to cook. can use my mind. I have trained someone and she's doing it.
Right.
And also, tomorrow is God's. He usually tells us that we don't think of tomorrow so much because he sorts us out.
Yeah.
And that is very true. Despite, the 14 years of dialysis, only 4 years was paid for me through my parents. The rest of the 10 years was hustle. But I have many friends, never gone to borrow money for dialysis because it's something.
God provides.
Yes, I've ever felt, going and it's like begging, right? I have never done that. It's only at least funds for Harambe I asked for the fundraising. I had to because
It was the beginning.
yes,
It was
but,
the start. Yes.
But God is God, and I knew He will sort me out. He cannot give us a cross that we are not able to handle.